happens every time someone walks by our hotel room. Thank you, Lulu. We appreciate it. No, that's okay. Thank you. Hello? Hey, everybody. So I see a lot of people asking all the time, like, what do you put in your PCS binder? What do you guys, what's required to be in there? Things like that. So I just wanted to take a quick second and tell you what's in mine. Just so you know, there's no requirements of what should be in there. You don't even have to have a PCS binder, but a lot of us like to have it just because it keeps everything organized in one place. I love to be organized as I'm a little type A, as I've said in some of my other videos, so it makes me feel more comfortable. I know some people have binders, some people have just folders, some people put everything in a lockbox. We're actually PCSing out of the country, so I prefer to have a binder because we have to have all these documents on us multiple times to pull out. So it's just easier to have it in this cute little binder. I got it from Target. It just has a little like button latch thing. And then if you open it up, it's got little folder hugs that I write on. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 slots in this one. It works for us. Obviously there's different kinds and stuff, but just so you kind of get an idea of what I have in mind. So the first slot I have is IDs. So I got my name changed when we got married, so I keep my social security information in here with my name changed, just in case. I keep a copy of both of our birth certificates in here, both of our passports, and any other type of identification information you might have. To us, that's IDs, passports, birth certificates, and my social information. The next one I have in my slot is, I called it marriage, and it is where I put our marriage certificate. Trust me when they tell you, hey, trust me when they tell you to make multiple copies, make multiple copies. I got 3 certified copies from them when we got married at the courthouse, and it still isn't enough. Because one is out with my passport, my civilian passport for my name change. One is out for the duty-free passport that you have to get if you're going overseas on orders. And then the other one we keep needing for various things on base. They ask for it all the time for some reason. So I would make like 5 copies of your marriage certificate if you're getting married during the process of them already being in, whether that's boot camp, A school, C school, whatever. We got married in the beginning of A school, so obviously that's made it more of a process. But in here, I have the marriage certification copies, and then I also have our power of attorneys. It's good to have power of attorneys when you're married to someone in the military who's on sea duty or on a deployment. They said we should have one also because we're going overseas, and she's going to be on the ship for months at a time, multiple times. So we have one for things like housing, bills, the car. We just got a couple different power of attorneys, and that's something that you can do for free on base. They'll help your spouse with that. So in the marriage one, I have power of attorneys and marriage certificates. Then the next one, I called it PCS. And in that slot, I have a copy of our orders, which you should have multiple copies of that as well. I have 3 copies of our orders, 3 copies of page 2, which you can put with the marriage docs, but I prefer it with the PCS docs because they ask for that for everything as well. So I have a couple copies of the page 2, our orders, and then for our particular situation, I also put in anything that has to do with the movers. So they give you a form about picking up, like where the movers are going to pick up and what day, what time, and same if you're getting a car shipped or something like that. I put that in the PCS area too, just so it's easy to find. The next slot is medical. So with us going overseas, we have to have medical screenings. Okay, so yeah, with us going overseas, we have to have medical screenings completed. So I put all of our medical screening docs in here. Again, get copies of that as well. I'm just gonna keep saying get copies because trust me, everybody's asking for everything. So make sure you get copies of your medical screenings for both of you as well. Even if someone says they already have it, just make sure you get it anyway because you just never know. And we've already had, chances are they don't actually have it and someone didn't really send it over and they just looked at it. So make sure you have copies of that. Even if you're not going overseas, it's still nice to keep all these documents together. So if you have like any medical records that you printed off for you or your dependents, I would just keep them in here as well too. You just never know when you're gonna need them. The next pocket I have in my PCS binder is called rings. So our marriage wedding rings and everything have insurance on them and certificates. So I put that in here as well just because it is important to me, and if we're going overseas, I have overseas insurance. We got my ring through the Nex, and so I know that it's covered overseas with the insurance as well. So I just keep all that information in here just because I never know, and you never know when you're going to different countries or when you're in the airport or with your luggage what could happen. So I put it in here too. You don't have to use this slot for that, but it's important to me. And then the next one I have is called pets. If you have pets and you're PCSing overseas, you have to get a lot of things done. You need multiple copies of their medical records. You have to have their microchip information. We're going to Rota, Spain, and in Spain it's required that they're microchipped within a certain amount of time, and their microchip records have to have their rabies records on them. So you need their medical records, their microchip information. You need their actual certificate of rabies vaccination. And then 10 days before you travel, you have to take them both to the Navy base vet again to get a certificate of health to travel with them. So all of that goes in here. And then when you get to Spain, apparently when you're walking around with your dogs or anything, you always have to have their medical records to prove that they have their shots and their microchips. So you just never know how many times you're gonna have to pull that out either. Also, when you go to hotels to PCS, like when you're staying at the Navy Lodge or the Navy Gateway Inn and Suites, they require you to show proof of their medical records and their rabies vaccinations and all that too. So even if you're not going overseas, you should probably keep all that stuff in your PCS binder. And then we don't have children yet, but when we do, of course, one of these slots will be for them. So I'm sure that there's some dependent information and medical information you would need for them too, maybe school records, their birth certificates and things like that could go in there. So I would make like a dependent kid slot. And then we were both actually married previously, not military related at all, but just because of name changes and dependent statuses and health insurance and things like that, I keep a copy of our divorce decrees from our previous marriage in here as well. So that is what I keep in mind. I think the most important things are birth certificates, passports, social security cards, identification cards, medical records for you, your spouse, your dependents, your pets, microchipping for your pet information, your orders, your page 2, and anything that has to do with the movers, moving your furniture, moving your cars. And yeah, that's it. That's the important information that I have in my PCS binder. So I hope this is helpful. It's really quick tips. And if you have any other questions or any other videos about PCSing or just being new in the military, being a military spouse, traveling with pets, feel free to drop it in the comments below and I'll make a new video about it. Or if you want to see anything from the person in the military, my spouse can do a video for you guys if you have questions about boot camp or A school or C school or traveling, or like how to talk to your command about all the information for the benefits and everything for your spouse. Let us know.